All right, welcome back to the good form panel of two here. Myself and Blake Redden, and two country cups this weekend, regional features. The first one at Ararat on Saturday night. Then we go to Warragul, of course, on Sunday. But Easter Saturday night, Blake, two great races at Ararat in the Western District. Of course, the Ararat Pacing Cup that we've mentioned, and the Clive Reid Memorial Ararat Trotters Cup. But we're going to go through the quaddie as we always do, and we'll start with race 5, the Kevin and Colleen Smith Pace. Tricky little race here. Smoke and Pump Action has won a lot of races since coming back from that 2-year let-up. Rory Mack's a really interesting runner. Real Lucky's drawn awkwardly. It's an interesting race.
It is. I think you probably have to play wide in the quaddie. I never really had an opinion of Smoke and Pump Action until around Terrain Cup night. He started to win me over a little bit with that sequence of wins. He's just getting better and better, and he does seem to be a winner, so I'd be happy to put him on top, but I would be including Rory Mack. He didn't do a lot right last preparation. I think he's got the ability. They just need to turn him around a little bit, the team. Real Lucky obviously goes in with Starwin Jasper, who's also got a lot of time for. They're probably a main four, but I could concede that most of them have some sort of each way chance in a really tough race.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Smoke and Pump Action. You took the words right out of my mouth. Terrain Cup night, was it Terrain Cup night? 154.5 it was anyway, and I didn't have a huge opinion.
He took on Master of Thills at the start and just kept running. Yeah,
I just thought he's a nice horse. He'll win a few races. He's a typical, Matty Craven doesn't miss too often. He'd brought this horse back from injury, and I thought we've got a few wins in this horse, but the way he's gone on with it has been exceptional. He usually leads in his races. The outside second line draw around the tight turning Ararat circuit's going to be an imposition for him, but I still think he's the one to beat. I've got a real opinion of Real Lucky. The inside second line draw here, drawn behind One Wise Man, it really isn't ideal. I think Lance is going to have to drop back at the start and look for a little bit of luck, but he's got a really good turn of foot. Didn't even mind his run when finishing 5th in the Caduceus Club Cup behind Soho Tribeca, and that's turning out to be a pretty strong form race. They'd be my clear top two that you definitely have to have in your main quaddie, but I'd also be throwing into a saver, number 10 Starwin Jasper, who you mentioned, and Rory Mack, who was a really quick beginner in New Zealand and might just head these off at the start. Race 6 is one of the big features of the night, the Clive Reid Memorial Ararat Trotters Cup. It's only a 6-horse field, but it's an incredibly strong and deep little field. Aldebaran DB provides great X factor, quite a moment race through the Great Southern Star. The boss man's got huge ability. Which way are you headed?
Well, it's the mares versus the boys, isn't it? Aldebaran DB drawing the pole, quite a moment. I really like the way she's racing at the minute. She was terrific through the Great Southern Star series. If she holds that form, even from 20 metres, I'd expect her to be really hard to beat. But the boss man, clearly the most talented horse in the race. He's had his issues. He's had some time off here or there. He was really good first up. Expect him to be improved. I'd probably elevate them a little bit over Aldebaran DB, who is still coming through her classes. It's a big step up, but no doubt she has to go into a saver quaddie somewhere because she does have the talent. It's just a matter of whether she's ready for this, and Mary's favourite son is probably on the next level with Action Cosmos.
Yeah, I've gone with Quite a Moment on top as well. I'm not quite with you that the boss man's clearly the best horse in the race, because what Quite a Moment's done recently, of course, we know she was a Breeders' Crown winner earlier in her career, but recently she's been taking on the cream since going to New Zealand, and then of course coming back racing competitively with horses like Mombay, 3rd in the Great Southern Star final, of course, behind Speeding Spur and Glenferrie Typhoon. So she's in a rich vein of form. The 20 metre handicap around Ararat won't make things easy. I think Aldebaran DB, it's a big task for a 4-year-old mare, still relatively inexperienced, but Matty Craven knows how to drive these tracks. If they begin quickly, I think he'll run them along and say, look, we'll try and get you off the bit, we'll try and get you chasing us, and it might turn out to be a winning move. Aldebaran DB, a very handy horse, so I've got it in for second. The boss man, I agree, he's a very, very talented horse. Little question mark second up from a break. I think he'll be better once he gets a couple of runs behind his back, behind his belt. He finished off very, very well first up from a break behind Michael Thomas, but he's a sit sprinter by nature, so he'll need a little bit of fortune. Maury's favourite son and Action Cosmos, possibly more for multiples than your quaddies. The big feature of the night is, of course, the Renown Silverware Ararat Pacing Cup at Group 3 level, and they've brought together a fantastic field here. A little bit of conjecture over handicaps and whatnot, but that's all part of the milieu. We won't have to worry about that by September 1. Of course, this is one of the last big standing start features in Victoria.
For the paces.
Which way did you head here? Because it looks like there's 3 or 4 key winning hopes.
Yeah, it does, and you mentioned earlier the tight turning circuit is going to make it hard for some of the big hopes, but I do really like the way that Ideal Success has come over here for Karen Manning. Really good win first up in Australia, then again dominated last time. Just looks like a bit of a monster. I know the 10 metre mark is a little in position, but he won at Oyen quite comfortably. I'd be happy to put him on top, but as you say, there's 3 or 4 really good chances. Star of Dionysus, racing really well since transfer to Australia. Again, a good last start winner. Almost illegal. He is maybe the most well treated of all the big guns. He's off the front. He begins pretty well most of the time. He certainly goes into your major quaddie. And if you're looking for one at massive odds, Jive and Colin, I've got a little bit of time for this horse. I think if he does step as well as he can, he may even end up behind the leader. Even from 3 pegs, around Ararat's not the worst place to be.
I can't separate a few of these too well, but I'm going with Almost Illegal on top. I think the draws made a great advantage for it here. Sort of 70 to 80% of the time it steps very quickly.
Yep.
20 to 30% of the time things don't work out at the start. Now, if he gets buried back in the ruck, we know he's got a great turn of foot, but around Ararat, I think that's going to be a disastrous thing to happen, catastrophic for him. If he begins quickly, though, he can find the front, and around the tight turning circuit, he can nearly opt to hold it, or he can hand up to one of the big guns if they get there really quickly, a Star of Dionysus, Steam Washed, or Ideal Success. So I think he's got more options than the others. He's already won 2 country cups this term, and I've actually loved the horse since I was 2, so I'm playing with my heart as well as my head here. Ideal Success.
Since he was 2 or since you were 2?
Well, I can't remember much from them, but certainly since he was 2. He's been one of those horses that's been great since he was a juvenile, of course. Ideal Success, the major danger. It probably hasn't proved a hell of a lot in 2 starts, but it's just been so dominant. I agree with you. I'm not saying it's the replacement for Arden Rooney for Karen Manning, but he looks a very, very smart horse. Took on the cream in New Zealand and has done terrifically well, of course. Really walked in the Odeon Cup last start. Steam Washed is a Group 1 winner from behind the strands over the long trip and has done really well in bigger cups than this, South Australian cups and the like. Run placing, so she must be somewhere in the mix. And Star of Dionysus, I do think it's a step up in grade. He's a last start Port Pirie Cup winner, but he's obviously got ability and he's been very well placed by Andy Gath since emigrating over to Australia. So they'd be the 4 I'd be including in my quad. The final leg we have to look at is another tricky little race here, the Barry Davison Electrical Pace. It's a preferential draw race, so as you can expect, the major dangers are drawn poorly and off the second line. Could you elevate one above the others, Baker?
I think I might have one. Hooper Road really liked his run, 3 or 4 starts back on Terrain Cup night. Last time he just dropped the bit a little bit, but he really finished off well. He's drawn the front row. I think he can go forward and dominate. Even if he has to park, I still think he's the horse to beat. Snip of Green, the obvious, but she's drawn the back row. That's going to be tough from out there. And if you're playing quaddies, you can throw in plenty. My Lady Grace, Millwood Brandy, even a horse like Linden Abbey or Amble Angus. So for me, I'd probably pin my hopes to Hooper Road and hope he can get the job done.
Yeah, I reckon there's 2 winning hopes, and one of them is Hooper Road. 2 of his last 3 starts have been excellent. Terrific last start, and then 3 starts back behind Top Lamada, worked overtime and was still able to finish second. I'm going with Snip of Grand. Once again, it's a little bit of a hard head situation. I've always had a real soft spot for Snip of Grand. I thought its last start performance when it nearly rolled the Sparrow Hawk, admittedly off a soft trip, was very, very good, and she can do some work in her races, so I'm not too worried about the outside second line draw, unless Hooper Road just gets the lead. And Matty Craven can do that. He might be able to bully his way to the front, in which case Hooper Road's definitely the one to beat. If you want to play some saver quads, I'd be including My Lady Grace, who's just done a terrific job for Danny Simpson this preparation. Maybe Millwood Brandy and even Amblue Angus, who can turn it on when everything goes his way. Baker, how's the great tip-off going here? Did you make a little bit more ground last week? I forgot again.
Yeah, no, I didn't forget. I'm slowly climbing up the leaderboard, so give me another 5 or 6 weeks. I think I might already be in the top 100, and we'll just keep chipping away at that.
And remember, when you're having quaddies at Ararat or anywhere in the Western Districts, rule 1, include Jason Lee, Glenn Craven, Matty Craven, Karen Manning.
Correct. The big 4.
And then do your form afterwards. So take what we've said with a grain of salt and make sure all those key drivers are involved, because they love those Western District tracks. Thanks for joining us on the Good Form panel, and we'll be giving you a Warrigal Cup one very soon.